The relationship between the United States and Iran, it's been a 70-year saga of alliance, betrayal, and just constant hostility. So to really get what's happening in the headlines today, we've got to go back. We need to unravel this incredibly complex history and figure out how these two nations ended up on what seems like a permanent collision course.
So, I want you to imagine something. Picture this. You wake up, it's February 28th, 2026, and the news that everyone's feared for decades has finally happened. This long, bitter rivalry, it's finally exploded into open war, and the consequences are going to be global.
The immediate fallout is just devastating. As one analysis put it, the world's most critical energy choke point had, in effect, been declared closed. You have to understand, this isn't just some regional fight. This is a crisis that instantly puts a chokehold on the entire global economy. And it all happens so fast. According to the scenario, a joint U.S.-Israeli mission, codenamed Epic Fury, hits Iran and its supreme leader is killed. Iran's response? It's swift and furious. They launch attacks on American bases, and then they do the one thing everyone dreaded. They shut down the Strait of Hormuz, which is the single most important waterway for the world's oil. Now, why is that such a huge deal? Well, it all comes down to this number, 20 million. That's the number of barrels of oil that squeeze through that tiny strait every single day. We're talking about a fifth of the whole world's petroleum supply just gone in an instant. So who feels the pain first? You're looking at them. The major economies in Asia are completely dependent on that oil. For countries like China, India, Japan, and South Korea, this isn't some distant problem. It's an immediate economic catastrophe. Which, of course, brings us to the real question here. A scenario like this, it doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. How did a relationship that spans 70 years spiral so violently out of control that a full-blown war becomes a real plausible outcome? To find the answer, we have to rewind the clock. And the story starts in a place that's probably going to shock you, with the US and Iran as close friends, allies even. I know it's hard to even imagine now, but for decades, under the Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, Iran was a pillar of American strategy in the Middle East. The Shah got the best American weapons, tons of economic support. He was seen as a key buffer against the Soviet Union during the Cold War. So what happened? How did it all fall apart? Well, the whole alliance was shattered by a few huge events. It really started back in 1953 when a CIA-backed coup kicked out Iran's democratic leader and put the Shah back in power. That planted the first seeds of real mistrust. For the next 26 years, America's support for the Shah's pretty oppressive regime just fueled anger inside Iran. And that anger finally blew up in the 1979 Islamic Revolution. And that revolution led directly to the U.S. Embassy hostage crisis, the event that broke relations for good. And the change was total. I mean, it was night and day. Before 1979, you have a pro-Western monarchy that's friendly with America and even quietly works with Israel. After 1979, it becomes an Islamic republic, and its entire identity is built on a fiercely anti-American ideology. Everything, and I mean everything, changed. And nothing burned that new hostility into the American mind like this number, 444. That's how many days 52 American diplomats were held hostage in Tehran. For an entire generation of Americans, this event defined Iran as an enemy. Diplomatic ties were cut, and they have never, ever been restored. So after the revolution, things didn't just calm down. Nope, the hostility just changed. It went underground, and it morphed into this long, undeclared conflict fought in the shadows. So what is a shadow war? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. Instead of two armies lining up on a battlefield, the fighting is all indirect. It's a war fought through other groups, proxies, plus cyber attacks, covert ops, and crushing economic pressure. It's all about doing damage without starting a full-scale war. And for the next 40 years, the flashpoints just kept coming, one after the other. The U.S. backed Iraq's brutal war against Iran. Iran, in turn, backed groups like Hezbollah that hit American targets. Then there were horrible tragedies, like when a U.S. warship accidentally shot down an Iranian passenger plane in 1988, killing 290 people. That just deepened the wounds. By 2002, President George W. Bush made it official, calling Iran part of an axis of evil, which basically cemented its status as an enemy in Washington. Okay, so that brings us pretty much up to the modern era, where this whole conflict really starts to zero in on one single massive issue: Iran's nuclear program. And, for a minute there, it looked like there might actually be a way out. In 2015, Iran and a bunch of world powers, led by the US, signed the JCPOA, or as most of us know it, the Iran nuclear deal. The idea was pretty simple. Iran agrees to seriously limit its nuclear program, and in return, the world lifts the sanctions that have been crippling its economy. But, yeah, that hope didn't last long. In 2018, the United States just pulled out of the deal completely and launched what it called a maximum pressure campaign of new sanctions. Iran's response was predictable. It started firing up the very nuclear activities the deal was supposed to stop. The cycle of tit for tat was back, and with a vengeance. And things really hit a fever pitch in January 2020 when the U.S. assassinated Qasem Soleimani, one of Iran's most powerful generals. Iran shot back with missile strikes on U.S. bases in Iraq. For a few terrifying days, it honestly felt like a direct war was about to happen. This is the context. This is what makes that 2026 scenario we started with feel so frighteningly real. And that leaves us with the million-dollar question for the future. After 70 years of coups, revolutions, hostage crises, and shadow wars, is this whole story just destined to end in a massive conflict? Or is there, somewhere, a path to break this cycle and overcome decades of this deep, profound mistrust? That, right now, is the great unanswered question.